Famously, this is a side effect of COVID.
Just being stupid.
Yeah.
Brunch.
Hit it, boys! First of all, thank you all for the very kind words. Famously, we didn't want to do the last episode, and forces beyond our control made us do it. But everybody said so many nice things, and obviously, I'm by far the least important part of that operation. But it was very, very nice of you, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And not unexpected. I mean, anytime we do one of those episodes, it always, I feel like the feedback is always pretty kind. We've got some very nice people that listen to this podcast, and I appreciate everybody that reached out. There are a lot of kind words. A lot of people reached out with like advice, insight. People that have been there before, I really appreciate that. And just like anybody who reached out and was just like, "Yo, that sucks. I feel really bad." And I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much.
It was very nice, and we appreciate that. And I don't think that qualifies as like starting the episode with housekeeping. You never really want to do that, but that's just.
I mean, we
top
never
of
really
mind.
want to do that when we do that every single episode for like the first half an hour of the episode. It's always
No, we don't. We talk about something random and then we get into housekeeping.
That's
That's
true. Well, no, that's not true. Like we do that
That's
a lot
like a
with tomato fights. We'll be like, oh, this week we recorded tomato fights and it was so much fun that we're going to talk about it for 30 minutes.
I'll give you something off the wall for like the first 4 minutes.
That's fair.
Before we get to any housekeeping. That was actually probably the most on topic an episode has ever started because it was something that was relevant. This is a remote episode because Pete suddenly doesn't want to hang out.
That's right. I decided that I don't need you anymore. It's lone sale. No, DJ has the vid.
Famously, it's a shitty NHL preview because I am ill. Yeah, COVID duck.
You're in COVID protocol. You're actually kind of getting smoked by it, whereas I famously beat the shit out of it when I had it a few months ago.
Stronger than me. Yeah, I was going. I kind of knew I was going to. People don't know this about me. I'm an underlying. What is it called?
Underlying bitch boy.
Underlying. What is it called? Underlying conditions or whatever?
Yes.
But why can't I think of the fucking thing? Everybody.
A pre-existing condition? Underlying.
Whatever.
Whatever.
We're freaking out. The pressure's on with the podcast. We're choking. We don't know what to say. Whatever. As an asthmatic, I'm an underlying boy. So I was probably going to be a symptoms guy, and
yeah, and this is coming out a bit later than usual because DJ actually got arrested at a Burger King for not wearing his mask.
That's right. That's how it happened. But the symptoms have for real been a thing, and obviously everyone's going to have a different experience with it. But if there's anything I've learned from this, it's like, can confirm. Don't want people to get this. Don't want to, even if you're not going to get any symptoms. For me, the weirdest one by far was I had the worst night sweats anybody has had in the history of the world. And I need to check to see if maybe anybody's died of night sweats, because it could be argued that that person maybe had worse night sweats than I had. But I kept waking up absolutely drenched. And I've had night sweats before because I'm an SSRI boy. So you'll get those every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But this was crazy. Just like soaked,
like puddle in your own bed sort of deal. Like I've been there. That is the most disgusting feeling in the world, to wake up just wet.
Could not believe I hadn't pissed all over the place. Because when you wake up in the middle of the night, you still kind of have to, like, you lightly have to go to the bathroom. But if not to brag, like if you've been alive long enough, you have a good sense of judgment. You're like, I can make it through this. I kind of have to pee, but I could definitely go like 7 hours without peeing.
That might be the cruelest thing that the world takes away from you. Because like as you get older, number one, I've heard that you can't make it through the night without waking up to
Right.
go pee. And then like as you get even older than that, you just pee in your bed sometimes.
I was watching this one show where a guy just got up and like pissed on the floor.
Yeah. The Succession. Yeah.
It was Succession. Famously, I'm
This is
watching
the
Succession.
first episode? Did they start the series with
Yeah.
him just pissing on the floor in his closet?
Yes. Yeah.
I
And
actually
then-
watched that when the new season came out. For some reason, HBO Max like forgot that I had watched Succession, so like I was like, "Oh, very nice. Time to watch this brand new season of Succession that everybody's hyped for." And I ended up watching like the first 20 minutes of the pilot and being like, "Huh, they're going back to this whole storyline again where he's just pissing in his house." And then like 20 minutes later, I was like, "Oh shit, this is the first episode."
How come Roman's masturbating on the window? Why does he do this every couple of
Again?
years? I am watching Succession though, and it feels weird to say that I'm watching Succession because I've said probably 400 times in my life that I'm watching Succession, and this time I actually am. And I was thinking of how I could maybe trick you into thinking that this is another ruse, because like I've hit you with like some thoughts on Succession as I've been watching.
I think you're a bit too deep in like your Succession knowledge to trick me. Although, like, if you just pulled out a Succession reveal right now that you haven't been watching it and you've just been like Googling storylines, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, just ruining any chance of me ever actually enjoying
it. Yeah.
the show.
That would be a great commitment to the bit, but I do believe that you are actually watching Succession right now.
I am, and I like it, and I'm really into it. And a great part, there's no great parts about COVID, and I'm actually like I've seen a couple people who have it now being like, the cool thing about having COVID is blah blah blah, and I'm like, all right, stop. The good thing timing wise with it is that I have COVID when all of my friends are bored, and I'm also very bored. I am just like dying of boredom. I texted you like the day after I tested positive, which we'll get to that in a second, but like the day after I tested positive, I texted you and was like, can't do this anymore, dude. Like crawling out of my fucking skin. But my friends are bored, so they're like texting me being like, where are you in Succession? Like, have you gotten to this part yet? What do you think of this part? Because this is the time of year between Christmas and New Year's when famously nobody's doing anything and there's
Yeah.
nothing really to do. So I don't feel like a pain in the ass if I just start texting somebody and I don't feel bothered, obviously, if people start texting me. I did give a please stop, a polite, please no more phone calls because on Monday because talking was just like tiring, and I'm like, I have to just sit around and do nothing all day. Just text.
Yeah, fair enough. I was actually thinking, I was like, I wonder if this would be a good week or like a horrible week to actually have COVID, because the week between Thanksgiving or Christmas and New Year's is like famously the most useless week of the entire calendar year. Nobody does anything. Nobody has any motivation to like work or whatever. So I feel like it would be kind of annoying to have it because you like nobody wants to do anything. People probably just like want to hang out and shit, but like nobody's doing anything anyway because of COVID. So it's probably a good thing to have it now where you just like feel as useless as everybody else.
So that is why it's a good time to have it. Here's why it's arguably the worst time to have it. Because on Christmas Eve, I tested negative. I took a test, tested negative, went to work, stopped by a couple places, saw some loved ones, and on the morning of Christmas, I was starting to feel not very hot on the night of Christmas Eve. And then on Christmas Day, obviously had plans. Out of an abundance of caution, took 2 COVID tests and both tested positive. So my entire family had to cancel Christmas.
Just an all-time terrible timing situation. That is horrible. Not
Pardon my
like
take would call
Christmas
that
morning.
yeah, pardon my take would I don't know if they still
Jimbo?
do this. They would call that a Jimbo.
It's nothing that you did yourself. Like, I think that you, if anything, like you approached it the perfect way, and you prevented everybody else from getting COVID by like identifying it as soon as you could have. So credit to you, but I'm very glad that you did not stop by my house on Christmas Eve, as was potentially discussed. It would have been hilarious content-wise had we gone off like this episode where I was like, oh man, DJ has been there for me for like the past like 2 months, just been like
Boy,
the
has
best
he.
friend ever. Like just showing up at my house and like just spending some time with me, just being present next to me, helping me through these tough times. A week later, DJ gave me and my entire family COVID.
Yeah, and it was weird, dude. The night of Christmas Eve, I was planning on going by, and I was just like feeling kind of not like I was just kind of feeling low energy, and I was like, I don't think I was like, I'm gonna play it by ear. Like if I don't end up going over, Pete's got stuff going on.
Right.
I don't think he'll be offended. Like I'm basically saying, like, hey, can I come crash the party for a little bit? And I just didn't end up rolling through. Instead, just hung out with my parents. So that's exciting. They're feeling fine so far. And even though I had tested negative that day, I was still trying to keep a distance from them and be safe. I don't know about everybody else. Maybe it's because cases are spiking or whatever. But like in the days leading up to Christmas, other than the fact that I went to New York City last week, other than that, was like really careful about everything. And I think that everyone seemed like they were like that too. Like masks seemed to be very much back, and people were like really being careful. So that's what I was like on. I mean, I always try to be like that, but that's what I was like certainly Friday and yeah, then Saturday morning. I know you said like it's not my fault, but man, I was really cursing myself. Like I'm glad that like certain people in the family are young enough that they're not going to be like scarred by not having Christmas. Uh but I felt yeah, I was not
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that
too high
doesn't
on
feel.
Bean.
Yeah, I'm sure that doesn't feel great. And I mean, like as somebody who loves Christmas, I would have been very disappointed at like Christmas morning. It was just like, oh, everything's out the window. But I mean, like, there's probably a million of those stories right now. Everybody has COVID. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
and unfortunately
everybody has COVID.
And unfortunately, I know of stories where
You found
the
out
person
afterwards.
tested negative Christmas Day and then tested positive the 26th after everybody got together. So hopefully nobody has any experience like that. But yeah, it was a weird Christmas. The most eventful thing that I did on Christmas was like after a quarter of the Celtics game, I was like, I'm just gonna sleep for 5 hours. So I did that.
I started
And
Atlanta on Christmas Day.
that's awesome.
I am a big fan of Atlanta, and a lot of people have been saying, I've been talking to a lot of people about it because I can't stop thinking and talking about it. A lot of people have said, I can't believe that you guys don't watch Atlanta. And we had this discussion the other night. I can't believe that we didn't watch Atlanta either. It's got Donald Glover, Lakeith Stanfield. We were early adopters of Lakeith Stanfield being like the fucking man. Brian Tyree Henry, Zazie Beetz, like, why the hell didn't we watch that show? And it's not like it's a big secret. Everybody loves that show and says it's awesome. And we were just like, eh.
Yeah, weird. Like probably my weirdest pop culture blind spot of the last 10 years. And I would have friends say like they'd be like, it's so weird that you don't watch Atlanta. And then when I would like, they know that I love Lakeith Stanfield, and they'd be like, how do you even know Lakeith Stanfield if you don't watch Atlanta?
Right.
And I'm like, because he's in other stuff and he's always good in that stuff. And it was like, I don't know if it was like it wasn't like a Queen's Gambit thing where there was any defiance in not watching it, but
Right.
just never
Yeah.
got around to it, which is very weird.
Oh
But yeah,
shit. Breaking
what's that?
news.
Uh-oh.
And this is very weird timing. John Madden died.
Whoa.
That is super weird because I texted you about John Madden this week.
Was it
I
what I
said,
thought it
I
was?
texted you and I said, I cannot believe that John Madden is still alive.
That was my memory of the text as
Yes.
well.
I literally texted that to you this week. Holy smokes. That is unfortunate.
Wow. Rest
RIP
in
to the
peace.
legend, man.
John Madden famously coached football and later became a broadcaster where he broadcasted the very sport he coached. He had a series of video games named after him, and he did not like to fly.
Just a big
But
bus guy. And
he's
he loved
flying
chicken
now.
wings. And he hated
Yes.
athlete's foot.
Yes. He's flying now,
That's right.
right up to heaven. He's flying with the Eagles. Famously never coached the Eagles. He coached the Raiders. John Madden, dead at 58. 85, I'm dyslexic.
All right, let's
Whoops.
move on.
Man, yeah, I was like, yeah, John Madden's not 58.
Definitely not 58.
Was once
At
upon
one
a time
point, yeah, for sure.
while
That's
he
how
was
That's
coaching.
how time works.
Damn, legend. That's
He is the
sad. That
best.
bums me out. Well, we'll move on from that bit of news and say, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/listen to brunch. There's no Tomato Fights, I guess, is currently on hold for this week because we can't do it if we're not in the same place. And
Yeah.
famously, we can't be in the same place. If we tried, I thought for a second about being like, hey, should we try to do one this week and everybody in different places? No way. The only way we would be able to do that is if we didn't get a guest. And I'd like to have a third person rotating in. So no Tomato Fights this week, but we're giving you stuff on there. Currently having a discussion with the patrons on there about how to get Pete into the Beatles. There are some different strategies being discussed. Also, we're at 284 patrons. If we get to 290 patrons, I will put the complete interview that I did with Alana Haim on the Patreon. There's an interview that I did for NBC in Boston that there's like an edited, really cool, perfectly put together, awesome thing for this show called The Hub Today. But that's obviously an edited down version. There's a longer 6-minute conversation. That's the whole thing with this ridiculous exchange with Alana Haim. So if you want to see that, get us to 290 patrons and we'll put that on there. Possibilities are endless on the Patreon. We want to get to 300 patrons by New Year's, which is a dumb thing to have just said when I said, hey, get us to 290 patrons. But a nice goal would be to get to 300 patrons instead.
Well,
So get us there.
Famously, to get to 300, you have to hit 290. So
Can't get to 85 without turning 58.
that's right.
So get us there. Patreon.com/listen to brunch. We got some real stuff to discuss because we can finally discuss Don't Look Up, which is now on Netflix, and also Insecure ended. I'll also say, I suppose there was also a season finale of Curb Your Enthusiasm, but Curb ended up kind of sucking this season.
Yeah, man, it went downhill so fast. I guess we'll talk
Crazy.
about Curb because like the beginning of Curb had, I want to say, like 2 near classic episodes where you could like
great
put it
episodes.
into like the Curb Hall of Fame, and I was like, oh shit, Curb is back. We are starting off this season extremely strong, and then it just nosedived off a cliff, and like the last, I want to say 4 or 5 episodes were almost all terrible.
Yeah, terrible. And I liked what was her name? Irma Kostrowski.
Irma, yeah.
played by the great Tracy Ullman. She was a funny character and everything. It got ridiculous, but
She
her
she needed
scenes
like
with
a
Leon were great.
yeah, she needed like 2 less episodes.
Yeah, yeah. Those, yeah, the last like however many episodes were legitimately terrible,
Yeah.
and that's a bummer. I mean, if they could have just condensed the Irma Kostrowski stuff, so there was like one episode where Leon and Irma. Hold on, I'm gonna mute myself for a sec.
You didn't unmute yourself. Hello?
All right, not muting myself again. I muted myself to cough, and then my computer got COVID or something, and now that was just like the worst detour in the world. But yeah, bad season of Curb. Oh well, you kind of expect them now. Curb hasn't been good, or Curb hasn't been great in a while, but you're still happy to get new stuff.
Yeah, I still liked it. Like, and the it hasn't been consistent, but it hasn't been consistently bad either, to the extent that it was to finish out this season. And that's kind of what was stunning. Like the last 4 episodes or so, I don't know, I don't want to put an exact number on it because I don't know for sure, but like the last however many episodes were terrible. And I was just like, I still went in every week expecting like, hey, this could be a banger, and it just
Yeah.
never was.
Yeah, disappointing. Can't say the same for Insecure, which finished and really is. If you've listened to this podcast, you know we got it pretty high on the HBO list. And finales are finales. Like I've kind of considered this. Like, what if I wouldn't do this, but what if there were people out there who did a Michael Scott goodbye for TV shows and just stopped watching after the penultimate episode and just like left the show while the show was still being the show, because finales aren't really like the rest of the show. They, especially this
Especially, I mean,
one
this, I
had
mean,
to
yeah.
end shit, and it had to get you to a place. I'm not happy with where it went, but whatever. No one's going to be happy after a finale.
I wasn't unhappy. It was just, so the way that I keep describing it is it was extremely safe. They played it so safe, and I feel like I could have like guessed what would happen for like almost every character, and it basically checked every box that I would have predicted.
We'll talk about him in a second, but I would not have guessed 1, 2, 3 seasons ago that Molly would have ended up with Torian, and I also
But I
wouldn't
like
have
that.
guessed that at some point I would be praying for Molly to end up with Torian, because Torian became like the
He's
best character on the show, just laying in the weeds.
It's so unfortunate that man found his full stride in the penultimate episode and like just only had 2 episodes to fully shine.
Fuck it. Let's just talk about Torian. Let's make our number one insecure point.
So that's
this is a Torian appreciation episode.
The Torian Molly storyline was the only one that like. Well, I guess like I didn't see a lot of the storylines coming from like this final season, but that was the most surprising. But heading into the actual finale, I knew like they spending so much time on Molly and Torian like actually working that was probably going to be her happy ending, which I'm okay with that one. I just we're doing spoilers here, by the way. So I was a little bummed that Issa ended up with Lawrence.
Same.
And that's weird because like we're the biggest Lawrence guys. We always rooted for Issa and Lawrence to get back together and to work out. But like they had so many shots to work it out. And for them to like close it out and be like, we're different now, this is going to work. It's just like, we know so much about these 2 characters, and like, yeah, they might love each other, but like, now I feel like we need a fucking series to see if they actually did work out, because there's so much up in the air about that. And I guess like that's the entire point. They didn't say that like they were clean. They were like, I'm willing to find out. So I like that aspect of it. But I feel like Insecure always keeps it so real that like it would have been better served to be like, these two people love each other, but it's just not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, the way it ended was such a good reminder, or like the show telling you, like, this is a memoir. This isn't a biography.
Hmm.
This is a this is Issa in her early 30s, or it's probably like mid 20s to early 30s, whatever. Like this kind of like young adult coming of age type of thing. This isn't how everything ends up. It's like Licorice Pizza. Some people aren't thrilled with how that movie ended, but it's like, I don't think you're supposed to think, okay, well, they run off together and get married or anything. It's just like, that's where it leaves off. And this leaves off with Issa and Lawrence. I do like that it does paint them getting together and her being engaged and a stepmom as like the happy ending, because that's not always something that is glamorized
Hmm.
in pop culture. It's like, well, she can't get with Lawrence now because he's got a
Yeah,
kid.
it's like
So
weirdly looked at as baggage a lot of the
right,
times, where it's like, yeah, that's so fucked up.
right.
It's like
Like
this.
she loves this person, she's not going to love his kid.
Yeah.
Um, so I very much liked that, but also like you said, we've been rooting for Issa and Lawrence. I also believe in, like, if you're gonna root for the couple, to root for individuals.
Hmm.
Like, I hope that people out there like root for their exes as long as they still like that person and they get along and everything. Like, just because it didn't work out with you doesn't mean that they're not a good person, that you can't want good things for them. So like I was still very much rooting for Lawrence, but like not necessarily
Right.
with, it didn't need to be with Issa,
Right.
and rooting for Issa with it not needing to be with Lawrence.
And
I was
that's that sort of same mentality came about in the finale, where like where shoot, I'm forgetting his name.
Nathan.
Nathan. Where like Nathan comes back and visits Issa a year later at her birthday party, and like they don't get back together, but like they have a conversation and they're like, yo, I hope you're doing well. And like
Yeah.
they clearly still care about each other, and there's still like that weird tension, but it doesn't have to like turn into anything. They just like wished each other well and moved on. Like,
Y- Yeah, so that like I saw this season and where things were going with Nathan and them looking at apartments and like them thinking of moving in. And I was like, yes, this makes sense.
mhm.
And if she ends up with Nathan, then that's good, because it seems like she's got a healthy relationship with this person, and Nathan's awesome anyway. So I was rooting for them. So like Jay Ellis posted a thing of uh like I'm paying attention. I know everyone who is like rooting for the other guy. And I was like, yeah, like
It just seemed
why
like it
it's
made
it's
more
not wrong to root
sense.
for the other guy there.
Yeah, it just seemed like it made more sense from like a lot of different directions, where it's like Lawrence was spending most of his energy figuring out how to grow up and like be a more mature adult and have mature relationships with his baby mama, and like be a father and figuring that shit out. And that seemed like where his attention should have been paid. And then suddenly it really flipped to like, okay, he wants Issa back, and he's going about it in very immature ways. So
Yeah.
that shit was like really sloppy at the end. And that's sort of why I had a hard time swallowing. Like, they found their happy ending or whatever through the sloppiest means possible, essentially.
Yeah. And that penultimate episode,
And I don't want Lawrence in
shocker,
and I don't want Lawrence in and
Condola.
her too, but like, and I keep Nathan. I don't want Lawrence and Nathan to hate each other. Like, that
Yeah.
fight felt so forced, I guess.
So that's what I was getting. Like, I thought that the penultimate episode, which is always usually the case with great shows, was incredible, possibly the show's best episode. But I loved that showdown throughout. Like I loved that Lawrence saw Issa's new guy and was just like absolutely losing it. The the little sparring they get into over barbecue
I mean, that was great.
at the party
Yeah.
with a high on edibles
But that
Torian just
so
ordering
that would
barbecue
have
the whole
been
time.
that would have been fine because that was just like passive aggressive,
Yeah.
like it was essentially like a dick measuring contest in front of everybody. And then it escalated into like a physical altercation later on, and I was like, this seems like, come on.
Although, I mean, Nathan
Because Lawrence was
Nathan started off being pretty cool about it. When he walked in on Lawrence being like, "Are you happy? Are you happy?" I think all he said was like,
like, what are you talking about here?
What's this?"
Yeah.
I was like, that's
I probably would have had a more aggressive reaction if I saw some ex hiding in a bush and then popping out to be like,
Right.
do you love me?
Yeah.
It was weird behavior from Lawrence to be like, yo, I'll stick around to hang out with these people while you go home
Yeah,
with the
Condola's
baby.
like, yeah, see you
Yeah,
friends.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm just going to camp out in this shrubbery over here. And when Issa returns from the drink table, I'm going to ambush her and be like, do you love me? Do you want me back?
Yeah, like Issa's walking around the party and there's like a bush in the background and there's like little like marimbas as it like she moves 3 steps and it's like pop 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 pop. Then eventually Lawrence pops out and he's like, I can't sleep at night. I hate my kid. And
Dude.
Nathan, I mean, and Nathan eventually it escalates with him being like, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
Please don't do this way.
It was, yeah.
Like,
Nathan's
Nathan was being
contribution to
very
that was like, you
respectable.
are being pathetic, my dude.
Yeah, he was being very respectable, but I mean, I think everyone's been. I think that everyone has been on both sides of it to hopefully watered
Yeah.
down degree, where like people have been in that like have felt the desperation that
Yes.
Lawrence felt.
Yeah.
Lawrence felt there, and people have also felt the like, oh no, like you are. I know, like
Desperate.
you're trying to
Yeah.
like take this person from me, but like, oh, you're embarrassing yourself, and this probably you're gonna want this one back, buddy.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, it's like, I know that I should be mad at you because of what your intentions are right now, but your behavior is more like I'm embarrassed for you because this is a tough scene for you, man.
Yeah. Well, I
But
mean, it
the
got
fact that-
tougher
but the
because
fact
they
that-
ended up.
The fact that that's what worked and got Issa back, it's like, what? Although it was like, what, 2 years later or something?
But I mean, Nathan dumped her after that, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and
But-
he said like she was sloppy or something. Like her shit was. I was like
Toxic.
I was like, damn, Issa didn't even do anything there. She just was like returning from the drink table.
She did not know that man was in the bushes.
Right.
Yeah. But
And
also, like,
and Nathan, and it feels weird for Nathan to be like, I understand from Nathan's point of view being like, yo, your shit is toxic and not good for me as somebody with mental health issues. But like, you would think that somebody who's gone through mental health issues would have like a little bit more empathy and understanding of being like, this may not necessarily be your fault.
that's fair. Yeah, I was surprised that Nathan would just jump ship there, but that's where I feel like it's a finale.
Yeah, you got to do
And-
you got to do something.
It's been decided, like the decision's been made. Like step 1 argument, step 3 Issa and Lawrence happily ever after. So step 3 has been decided. There's only a couple options for step 2, and we're picking Nathan dumps Issa. But
I thought it was a bit too clean for a finale, especially for that show. And I know that they had to like tidy things up, but a little bit too tidy, I would say.
yeah,
I was gonna say like I'm surprised that they didn't like surprisingly kill off a character, but I guess they did. They killed.
they
off,
did. Kelly.
Killed off. Yeah, they killed off Kelly earlier in the season. That's right. And then they killed off Molly's mom in the finale, which. Thought we had dodged the hitting too close to home bullet with the sudden death of a mom, but nope. We had to circle back on that one.
That was the worst.
That
I,
was
I like
not great.
felt the exact same way. I was like, oh, really thought we'd gotten away from that. Like, health scares happen. They don't always have to then be the bad thing. But Insecure was, again,
He's a
step
real
step
gotcha
one.
bitch.
Step one was television show. Step 3 was Molly's mom dies. So we were all just slogging through step 2. Tiffany and Derek ended up being way more a part of the final season and like central to everything than I expected. But that's okay because I'll tell you what Tiffany and Derek are, an extremely attractive couple.
Yeah, and
I
they're
think that
fucking
Derek is
hilarious.
so handsome.
He is. He's like handsome and a very like tired young like a dude who like was a hard 10 in his like early to mid 20s and then had a kid and just got extremely tired and is now like a 8.5 and 9.
Him like trying to calm down Torian when Torian's talking about Postmates is the greatest because he has never met Torian. He met
Yes.
Torian for the first time like 1 hour earlier, and their only exchange was you
You
you're
brought us
telling me that you
trash.
brought us trash. But the scene when Nathan and Lawrence are having that passive aggressive little argument and Torian's just talking about how he's going to order barbecue. And he goes, Postmates says it'll be here in 20 minutes. Upgraded priority delivery last week. Game changer, y'all. Game changer. He gets so much
Yeah.
louder. And Derek's just like, all right, stop.
He's like, relax, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Derek is like a really interesting straight man in this show because he's hilarious, super dry, super funny. His wife is like obviously crazy, so him being the straight man is functional, but also very, very funny. And he's a straight man for pretty much everybody in the entire show.
Yes, right.
And I really like that at like one point they just threw in that like, hey, he like seems like he has his shit together, but he also has like mental health issues, and he had like a serious breakdown a couple seasons ago. And
That's right.
and I was like, damn, they kind of just like made like they took like a character that was basically like it feels like Derek's only purpose for a lot of reasons was to like be the straight man, and then they gave him some depth. So
Yeah,
I
so-
really liked that.
What happens with Derek again?
Him and what's the his wife's name? I forget her name.
Tiffany?
Tiffany. They like were going through like a possible separation, and like she really wasn't happy, and like they were having marital problems, and he was like not happy with himself. He was depressed, and
Is it a postpartum thing?
I think
maybe?
so. Yeah. I don't know if
Yeah.
it was her who had the postpartum, but I think I remember him being like the one who was like really going through a lot, and like they like had
Oh.
to work on their marriage.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting. Like they are, this show does a good job of like holding up. Like I was saying earlier about how like being a stepmom isn't positioned in pop culture like as like the great thing it can be. They're kind of used throughout the show as like they got married like young,
Like
whatever.
they got it figured out.
They're doing well.
Mhm.
They've got a kid. Like they've got like just everything about them is just like beauty, beauty, beauty. And
Right.
like
Like for like for a group of friends or like a circle as young as that group is, they would look to Tiff and
Derek.
Tiff and Derek as like the perfect couple, or like the
Right.
couple that has everything figured out. And like when other couples would be going through like problems, they'd be like, well, Tiff and Derek did this, blah, blah, blah. They figured it out. And like the show is really good at like holding up mirrors to things and being like, not everything is as it seems, and like everybody has their shit.
Yeah. And like, I mean, even down to them moving, like that's a thing that makes sense. Like for successful business people or whatever, and they're like they'll move and they'll relocate their family and everything, and like a lot of times that absolutely sucks. Like I love that they visited Tiff and she was like,
I fucking hate it here.
this
Yeah.
yeah, she's like, I hate it here. And I don't know, the show is always good about being pretty authentic. So great show. I'm gonna miss it. I mean, shout out a show that goes 5 seasons
Yeah.
and never gets bad.
Yeah. And I
Never
I
even like hits a rut.
no. And like I think that the for a little bit the Molly and Issa stuff was drawn out
Yeah.
quite a bit. But I do absolutely love the final shot of the series with the empty mirror. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah. And what the music in the show has obviously been awesome. I meant to look up who's their shoot. I forget the name of the job. It's not music director, it's not music coordinator, but whatever. It's the person who chooses the music for a show. Like whoever does that is for that show is awesome. And HBO always has good people. I wonder if it's that Scott I forget his last name. Anyway, but the music in that show is always dope, and this ended with Bossy, which was amazing because a lot of times it's like modern stuff. I remember Pink and White by Frank Ocean was in the pilot, and I loved that. It was just like modern good music is in there. I love like Bossy being used for Issa being like, yeah, I've figured it out and I've figured it out so far. Like
Right.
I'm here where I am. I love that.
Yeah. I mean like it's a weird situation. Like I wasn't unhappy at when I stopped watching the finale, but like the more I thought about it, I was just like, man, they really did play it safe. But
Yeah.
can't complain. Like it didn't ruin anything. It pretty much went the way that I thought it would.
I'm gonna miss that show though. Great show. Shut up.
And that
Shout
brings
out
an
Issa
end
Rae.
to HBO Sundays. Man, I don't know what's next as far as
Well, I watched
HBO
Succession,
season.
so I'm okay.
Yeah, but that's off the air.
No, it's coming back. I'm a Succession guy. I know what I think I know my way around HBO Sunday. Yeah, I don't know what is going to be there.
I don't know.
next?
I don't know what's next.
I mean, I'll take a mini series, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, give us a mini series. Maybe one where we're trying to figure out if someone killed somebody.
Hell yeah. That's
Those
good
always
stuff.
happen. We got to talk Don't Look Up.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I'll just say this before we get into the Don't Look Up discussion, I'm just going to like shoot my brain sucks right now.
Dude, I couldn't even think of Tiff and Derek's names 3 seconds after talking about them.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna say, what's a proactive shot? Well, but no, it's not proactive. That's not the word.
A warning shot?
Kind of a warning. I don't know. I have COVID, but famously, this is a side effect of COVID.
Just being stupid.
Yeah. I'm just going to send a preemptive strike. There it is.
There you go.
The biggest criticism I've heard of Don't Look Up is that it's too on the nose. I think that is intent. I'm pretty sure that's what they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to say this is what would happen, and unfortunately, as you watch that movie, it's an upsetting movie to watch. You should be thinking the entire time, yes, this is exactly what would happen.
Yeah, it's weird because like I want to say that it's ridiculous because it is, but I think that it's ridiculous in how over the top they spend on how they go into certain characters or certain things, but it's not over the top where it's unrealistic, because 3, 4, 5 years ago you'd watch this movie and you would have an extremely different reaction to it than you would now. Like now it's uncomfortable because you know it's possible.
Yes.
And 5 years ago, you probably would have been like, This movie is ridiculous, and none of this shit would ever happen.
Yeah, and so that's what I think. I think that it's an upsetting movie. It's uh maddeningly realistic, but that I don't think makes it a bad movie. And what stunts, like, I don't like to do this. I don't like to say, "Oh, you're just saying that because blank," or "You're just saying this to be," like, I always get so mad when people call anybody a contrarian when seemingly they're just saying, "Oh, you disagree with me." But I this is just my feeling. I do get the sense that it's cool to say this movie sucks. And I've seen like a lot of tweets from like cool people being like, "This movie's so bad that blah 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 blah." And I'm like, again, like, this is my bag is not trying
Yeah.
to fucking
No,
say like you're just doing this, but I think that you're just doing that.
I don't know. Like, so, like, I think that a lot of it probably stems from expectation, and the expectation's sky high, as it should have been, considering
Hmm.
the talent involved. Like, even if you just throw Adam McKay out of the picture, you've got Leo, you have Jennifer Lawrence, you have Meryl Streep, you have Jonah Hill, you have Timothy Chalamet. Like, the cast is unbelievable, and for me, I didn't think that any of the performances were like knock your socks off. Like, I don't think that this was and that's not really like a knock against the actors. I think that it's the project doesn't really lend itself to like this isn't like a really great arena for any of those actors to thrive in. I don't think that a lot of the characters had too much depth. So if you want to say that like, hey, you're disappointed based off of the talent involved, I would put myself in that camp as well. So I think that it's a fine movie, like I said B minus range, but I don't think that it was bad, and I don't think that it lived up to my expectations for it.
So I completely agree with that. And I think that, like, I think it's like B, I would put it B minus B. The way I've kept saying it is it wasn't great, but it was good. And like good exists. We've
Hmm.
had this conversation a million times where the world seemingly has a tough time with saying something is good or saying something is
Well,
pretty good.
it's sort of meta here because like the movie is about everything needing two sides, and like to be on two sides, you have to be like hard in one camp, hard in the other. So you're either saying that this movie fucking rocks or this movie fucking sucks, and there's no room in the middle for
Yeah.
either of them. And that's basically what this entire movie is about. And like somebody tweeted at me the other day when I tweeted about the movie, being like, it was just like it was too hard for me to swallow Hollywood's pushing this like climate change agenda or whatever. And I was like, I don't think that this movie is actually about climate change. It's more about how everything in the world now needs to be politicized or sold, and that like every single thing needs two sides,
Yeah.
where that shouldn't be the case. There are some things that only fucking need one side, and not everything in the world, whether it's like pop culture or sports or whatever, not all of that shit needs to be politicized. It needs to have like two hard camps separating two major groups of people.
Yeah. Totally. It's obviously inspired by climate change that like
Well, that's the
something bad is
device.
happening to the planet, and
That's the device.
scientists are saying this,
And I
and
think they chose that device because it's like, when you boil it down, nobody should be rooting or ignoring a
right.
giant asteroid that is coming towards the Earth that you can see, that is going to
That's the
wipe
best part.
out, that you can wipe.
Eventually you can see it, and people are like, "No."
Yeah, it's like the most preposterous premise that like there's this thing that you can literally see, and they're like, this is going to wipe out everything, literally everything. We're all going to die. There's going to be nothing left. And people are like, okay, well, we got to hear the other side.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that Hamesh Patel was great. You said there were. I'm just kidding. That's the guy from Yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That would also happen, by the way. I hope everyone's seen this. Some spoilers, but there were so many little things that happened that I was like, oh my God, yes. I'll get to the Himesh Patel in a second, but even down to, I texted Jeff about this. So Ariana Grande and Kid Cudi play a celebrity couple who break up, and it's all in the news, and it's all anybody's talking about, and they're talking about this instead of the Meteor, which possible.
More than
and
possible.
and Leonardo DiCaprio plays a scientist. What type of science? My brain is like really bad.
I don't know. I want to say
It-
like an astrophysicist or something.
Yeah. Yes, sure. He's an astrophysicist, and he doesn't really know much about pop culture, but he had just heard from Rob Morgan's character, a doctor and fan of these two artists, that they'd broken up and that it was sad. So they're sitting in a waiting room about to go on a show, and Leonardo DiCaprio, this kind of out of touch, well-meaning guy, says to Ariana Grande, "Hey, I'm sorry. I heard I heard about your breakup, and I just want to say I'm really sorry to hear that, and you seem like a really nice person." And she tells him to fuck himself. She says, "Why don't you fuck up? Why don't you mind your own business, you old fuck?"
Yeah.
And that even is like an older person, and Leo's not like older, but you know what I'm saying, like a middle-aged person who doesn't totally get like the ins and outs of everything and every current discussion, who means well and is
Yeah.
just like trying to say something, being like, you hit a nerve, fuck you. And then like all the other young people there laugh at him. I'm like, yes, this would happen too.
That scene got a hearty laugh out of me because like because Ariana Grande was so nice for like 2 minutes just right before that, and then he's like, oh, we've established this connection. She likes me. I'm gonna use this opportunity to be like, hey, really feeling for you. And she goes, fuck you, pervert.
Yeah.
It was the best.
So like that would happen. Himesh Patel plays Jennifer Lawrence's boyfriend, and he's a writer for like any of those, like Jezebel, would that
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
he's a writer for one of those sites, and she freaks out on TV because they're on this show with Kate Blanchett and Tyler Perry.
Kate Blanchett
who,
rocks in this movie, by
yeah,
the way.
who turn everything into just being chummy, and they go on the show to say a meteor is going to hit the earth, and Tyler Perry hilariously says, "So is this big enough to take out a house?" And he's like, "Yeah, like it's like 10 kilometers wide. It's big enough to it's going to hit
wipe out
something
humanity.
and then create like monsoons and everything, and all these, just like it's going to be horrible. It's going to end the earth. It's going to be an extinction event." And he goes, "Yeah, but specifically, it has to hit something, right? Because there's a house in New Jersey. It's my ex-wife's house. Could it hit her house?" And like everything there is being turned into just like being chummy and
Yeah.
making jokes and like a tease for tomorrow's episode. So eventually Jennifer Lawrence is like, "Are you not hearing what we're telling you? Like, we're all going to fucking die." And she screams and she runs off the set. And then like the next day, Himesh Patel runs a story that says, "You know that crazy chick who said we're all going to die? Yeah, I actually slept with her."
That's the best. Just not even like, that's my ex-girlfriend. It's just like, ooh, we had sex.
Like, here is my testimony.
Yeah.
I have had sex with this person. All those things though, I'm like, yeah, that would happen.
Yep. I do like that they kind of uglied up Timothy Chalamet a little bit.
He still look good.
Yes, they still look good, but like my thing with Timothy Chalamet is that like he is so good looking that it's unattractive.
I know people like that. Not that it's unattractive, but like I've told certain beautiful people in my life that they'd be well served to.
Like you need a scar or something.
Yeah. Hey, go ride a motorcycle
Like,
for a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, just like be safe. But
Timothy
like
Chalamet's face is like too sharp. The edges are too sharp. It's just like, it's concerning.
Chalamet I thought was good in this. I thought I got a laugh when they FaceTimed their friend, and He's like, hey, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Look what we're here with. I thought he was really funny. I didn't really dislike any of the characters. I thought that the scene where Jonah Hill stole the line from Saving Private Ryan, that gave me horrible douche chills. I thought that was just like a basic.
Anybody could have
Like-
played Jonah Hill's character in this movie, and it makes me upset. Like,
Yeah,
I
although
love Jonah Hill, and whenever I
He had
get
some
Jonah Hill,
very-
I want Jonah Hill.
Yeah, he had some very funny moments though. For whatever reason, it was so stupid. But the scene where it's like the second time that they've gone back there, it was after they've been arrested and they've been brought to the White House to meet with them again, and they're waiting. They've already established that Jonah Hill and Jennifer Lawrence's characters hate each other. He opens the door and he says, "Gentlemen, you may come in." Just killed me.
Oh, when he's like, "Fine, do you want to come?" And she's like, "Yes."
Oh, that-
and then he shuts the door.
Right, like his just little things, like he just has like these like super lame shots at her. Like when he says, "Gentlemen, you may come in," not acknowledging her when she's sitting right there. He invites her in and then shuts the door in her
And then
face.
he tries to kiss her in the boardroom. It's so funny.
It's so uncomfortable. Mark Rylance's character was super funny,
Who's that?
crazy painful. I don't know who that guy is either, TBH. He's knighted.
Ooh.
He's also a liar because his name is Sir David Mark Rylance Waters. Man, this guy is full of shit.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. The billionaire.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. He plays a ridiculous person, but also a person that would exist.
Yes, for sure. I didn't need the final like chapter or whatever, like 3,000 years later, where they show up on that like planet or whatever.
I
they're frozen.
wouldn't, but it is set to a new Bon Iver song that honestly I would probably say is my favorite Bon Iver song.
That's ridiculous.
I think
but
that song is
it's a very good
great.
song. It's a very good song. It's
Yeah,
a B-side from I.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, it's suited that scene so well, so maybe that's why I was just so into it. But did you see the post-credits scene?
No.
I didn't see it the first time I saw it, but then I watched it with my family.
Is that the
hours
one where
before.
that's not the one where they're naked?
No, that's the mid-credits
Okay.
scene.
I did not see the post-credit scene.
One person survives. Who do you think it is?
Timothy Chalamet.
Oh no, that would be the best though.
Who is
That
it?
would have been so much better. Jonah Hill.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He gets up. It's like very pure comedy. He gets out from like under some rubble and he's like, "Hello? Hello?" Then he takes out his phone and like tries to like go live. And he's like, "Last man on earth. Fucking sucks."
That's hilarious.
And the comparison I make with this movie is pure comedy, by the way. In that, like, it's a lot of truths that maybe you're not psyched to hear,
Yeah, for sure.
and not everybody's gonna like it. And I get that not everybody's gonna like it, but you can't say it's bad.
That seems fair.
Yeah, that's just where I fall on it. But
New Misty in a few months. Stay tuned.
yo, yes.